Hello, everyone. Can you see me? Can everybody see me? Perfect. All right, there I am. So, hello, welcome to our list building masterclass. My name is Ryan Dixon, and I will be showing you how to pull good lists. And I'm going to go over the kind of lists that we're going to pull. So, like Alex mentioned, please have something to take notes with. And because this can get a little data intensive, and I like this stuff, and so I can get a little bit drawn out and I can get a little bit deep with the subject, but we are going to go over vacant lists, absentee lists, and owner-occupied lists. These are the three lists that most of our clients ask us to pull for them. And but first, I want to explain a little bit about who I am and what I do. So my name is Ryan Dixon. I am the Vice President of Sales for REIPrintMail, and I am also a real estate investor, mostly buy and hold. Used to do a lot of wholesaling, and I am also the longest-standing direct marketing coach of REIPrintMail. So you're hearing REIPrintMail a lot. And you're also seeing REISmartData right by my head right there. And so what that is and how they are connected is that REIPrintMail, some of you know us, is the largest REI print house in the nation. And REISmartData was purchased by us about half a year ago. And the journey, a little bit of the journey that got us there was that our clients would bring us lists from all over the country, and we would send marketing to those lists. And we found out that most people are pretty terrible at pulling lists. And so we dedicated direct marketing coaches like myself and like the direct marketing coaches at REIPrintMail for free to help plan campaigns and to help build lists and to give advice for real estate investors. And then we eventually had the ability to buy REISmartData. And so we did. And we did that so that we could offer a quality data solution to our clients. Now, the list I'm going to go over, you can use. There are plenty of other list sources that we get lists from. So PropStream and ListSource and a few others that are kind of mainstream. The filters that I'm going to go over, you can use in any of those systems. The filter names may not be the same, and I may be able to answer what they're called inside of the system. In fact, chances are yes. So if you have that as we're going through and you need to ask those questions, please do, and I'll see if I can answer what the filter name in your list building system is. So we should be able to help with that. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here, and we are going to use REISmartData and go over the list building process. Can somebody please let me know if you can see my screen? Can anyone in the chat there let me know you can see it? Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. All right. So a few ground rules for when we're building lists inside of REISmartData. Anytime we click a filter, it does a little bit of thinking, and then it changes the quantity if we already have the geography put in. So I'm going to put in the geography last in order to make sure that this whole session maybe takes 45 minutes, an hour. If we go a little bit over, I apologize. Like I said, I get passionate about this stuff and I enjoy building lists. So if we dig in a little bit deep and it takes a little bit longer, hey, you get more value. And so, but in order to speed things up, I am not going to put in the geography for the list until the end of building the list. So the first list we are going to do is a vacant list. And one of the beautiful things about REISmartData is our vacant lists are very, very popular. And so it actually clicks on the include only vacant properties when you start, because most people would buy REISmartData in the past in order to get access to their vacant list because they were so good. For those of you that don't know, Vacant lists are derived from the post office. The post office is walking through the neighborhoods. They come up on a house, and then there is too much mail to fit in the mailbox. The grass is overgrown. There's too many obstructions. They can't get to the house. What do? They mark it as vacant, and they put a vacant flag on it. The vacant flag then is sold. The government sells the data to large list companies that then distribute that data to people like us, the real estate investors. And so that is where vacant house lists come from. Now, what I'm going to do is I've got include only vacants here. I am going to exclude bank-owned properties. This is important unless you are in the REO game. In the real estate owned game is basically where a bank owns the property. They took it back from somebody, and now you want to go buy it, meaning you have to negotiate with the bank. Most of our clients and most real estate investors don't do this. They usually are in the absentee, they're in the vacant house, they're in the tax delinquent, the pre-foreclosures, not in REO. So if you don't want the bank-owned properties, always exclude those in pretty much every list we do. Exclude companies. I'm not going to click that. That is really, really important. So the fact is that most of your deals, and if you are an active investor right now, you know this to be a fact, but right now you want tired landlords. Tired landlords is the hottest list going right now to date. If you would have talked to me a few years ago, it would have been the weird stuff. It would have been the vacants and the tax delinquents and the divorces and all these different things. But right now, tired landlords are the hottest list, and the fact is they are company owned. They're owned by LLCs, they're owned by incorporations and trusts and things like that. So we do not want to exclude companies because we will be excluding deals. Not a good thing. I'm going to skip over the ones I don't like, by the way, and I don't really use. If I don't mention it, you probably don't need to worry about it. If you have a question about it, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. Omit properties currently active on the MLS. There is some reasons to keep MLS properties in your list if you are a subject to buying properties on a subject to method, meaning that you're buying it subject to paying off the mortgage, or you're buying it subject to something, right? These are taking over a mortgage for somebody. Some people like the MLS data in there, and that's okay. Most of the time, we do not want to compete with agents. So why do it? Just exclude the MLS properties. Not all systems have this ability. REISmart does. I think PropStream does. ListSource does not. And a bunch of the others do not. And I think it happens to be very, very important. Let's remember, no matter what marketing you're doing, okay, because why are we pulling a list? We're pulling a list to market to it. We either want to call to it, or we want to, skip Perry sit and call it. We want to mail to it. It's usually you're doing some kind of inbound or outbound marketing, whatever you choose to do, right? But the fact is that response rates are very important. So you don't want to go for this giant net. You want it to be just right. It's really important not to stack your list so tight that you're down to a really small amount, because quantity is our biggest benefit when we are marketing as real estate investors, but also budget is our biggest constraint. So it has to be a nice, happy medium of quantity and not getting the things to the left and the right of the good filters that we don't need. So I like to exclude MLS, so that we're not competing with agents. Exclude properties where the mailing and property address are the same. This is our absentee button. I'm not going to click that with vacants. I'm just not going to click it. Why? They're vacant. They're plenty motivated. I don't need to worry about that because, well, they're vacant. There's a problem. I'm going to solve it. So we can skip past that. Now let's go to our sales data filters. Market value. Now, typically, and I'm going to be doing Houston, Texas here. Hopefully there's some people in the group from Houston, Texas, but I'm going to be doing Houston, Texas for this market. And so typically my clients in Houston want to keep under 450,000. And then equity filters. Let's go down there. Now let's talk about equity for a minute. 50 to 100% equity is still the known general equity that you want in order to get good data in your list. But for vacants, my clients have found plenty of success also going to the 26 to 50. Why? Once again, they're vacant. There's a problem. We need to solve it. So 26 for vacant lists, I go 26 to 100% in equity. Now let's talk about this right here, the best kept secret against or from newbies in the real estate investor market. You always, always, always use unknown equity. Always. You always make sure that your list building system has the ability to notate the unknown equity, the houses that have unknown equity. This is old money. These are houses that have been paid off for years and years and years. And the fact is that if you don't use unknown equity, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. Let's talk about you prop stream users. You prop stream users, when you put in 50 to 100% in estimated or in equity percentage, I believe it's under the valuations tab. When you do that, as soon as you do that, then a button will pop up, a little square box down at the bottom that will say unknown equity. It's almost hidden. I'm not really sure why it pops up like that, but the fact is you can't get to unknown equity until you put in the percentage of the equity that you want, and then you click that little box and now you have unknown equity. But if you get one thing out of this whole webinar, it should be to always use unknown equity when you're building your list, because even if you do everything else incorrectly, you're going to do pretty okay. But we want to do great. So let's continue. All right, beds and baths. Let's just do the regular 2 to 4. Some of you are going to want something else. Baths, let's just do 1 to 3. That's pretty normal. Do you want to ever leave your beds and baths open? Meaning, notice I could have went 2 to 8 and let the filter be open. On baths, I could have went 1 to 8 and let the filter be open. No, back to what I said earlier. You want to keep it reasonable and cut the crap out to the left and the right to increase your response rate for whatever marketing you're doing. So it's important to cap the tops and bottoms of your bed filter and your bath filters. Square footage. Typically, my clients want to do a square footage of around 900 and up. That is, it really depends on what you're doing, if you're a fix and flipper or not, if you're a buy and hold and you're in a certain area. But most of my clients want to do 900 square feet and up. We cap the top side by capping the bedrooms, right, and the bathrooms. You're not going to have a 10,000 square foot home that only has, 3 bedrooms most of the time. And also, if you do, it's probably under 450,000 or over 450,000. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's keep going. Year built. Year built is typically right now 1930 to 2005 or 2010, something like that. But what we're doing is getting rid of really old crap that has a lot of problems. We just want a lot of problems, not a lot of problems, right? We don't want it completely falling down. We want it kind of we want to be able to rehab it, right? Now, if we're going to keep it or if we're going to wholesale it, the fix and flipper who's going to buy it needs to be able to fix and flip it. So we don't want it to be terrible. So 1930 to 2005 also cuts out all of that really new stuff. And so you have to be careful. You always want to get, because one of the newbie mistakes, and I made it when I was a new investor, is I didn't cap this filter. And so I would get the new stuff. And if you click, I'll tell you, we had a client in California that when we didn't know better, this was years and years ago, and when we didn't know better, that vacants were actually considered vacant. The post office flagged them, but they were brand new homes. So one of the clients actually spent way more money advertising to brand new homes that they couldn't sell or flip or anything like that. So you have to make sure that that year built gets capped off at the top. It's very important. Now, property type, residential. This is one of the things I really like about Smart that you don't find in a lot of other systems. Not only can you pick residential here, but you can also pick the use code, which is the zoning really the zoning use of the property. So this is single family. I also like the duplex, triplex, quadplexes because, well, they're a good value. And when we actually get to find some of them, if you're lucky enough as an investor to buy some of them, they're usually a fantastic cash on cash return. So duplex, triplex, quadplex, single family, and I make sure and click the residential there. Now, what I'm going to do is go down here to owner has owned property for 5 years. I always use ownership, but I use it last. And let me explain why. Every time you're building a list, you're building it to market to, then you have a budget. You have a budget for the marketing. You need to know that before you go in. I'm sorry about the sun coming in my eyes, guys. It's a weird time, so there's a little bit of sun here. You need to know what the budget is. And when you know what the budget is, and let's say you can afford, let's say you're doing mail and you can afford 6,000 pieces of mail, right? But you have 8,000 records, right? Then you need to get the 8,000 down to 6,000, not only safely, but higher in a higher motivation. And to do that, you use years of ownership last, and you go move upwards on the years of ownership. So I want it owned for 10 years. I want it owned for 15 years. And owner occupied, which we're going to pull, you're going to see 30 years. The fact is that we want to be able to lower the count for our budget, but increase motivation. You can also do this with equity. I'm not going to click that. Why am I not going to click these right now? We'll do it on the next one. It's because it's vacant. And because it's vacant, we don't need to do anything because it's vacant and they're already motivated. I just want the list. All right, so let's do the city of Houston, Texas. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so nifty little map here. Now what I can do is, this is the time where you can go in and you can, say, I only want this area or that area or this area. And you can do that here in the map after it turns. So you can see here, we got 6,061, but I can select certain areas if I like, and I can see that the 251 of 6,061 is selected. The darker colors mean there's a little bit more data there. So I could go in there and select these and really, really target my area, which is nice. But you can see that after I put in the geography, then it thought for a little bit. And so we have 6,061 records. So that is a lot of vacants in the city of Houston. I picked Houston because, well, there's a lot of stuff going on and we wanted to actually work with some decent numbers. We can see here that if I wanted vacants that have been owned for more than 5 years, we can click that here and see what'll happen. So based on what I said before, if we watch this count up here, 6,061, so 2,771 vacants owned for over 5 years. Do you think they're more motivated than the other vacants? Oh yeah. But I like all vacants. So I want all of the vacants. I don't want just some of them. Now, but to each their own, just know that you can use years of ownership to increase that motivation. I would go ahead and ask that if any of you have any markets that you want me to build the next absentee list in, start putting them in the chat there. And I'm going to clean this up here. And I will take from one of your examples if you have an area you want me to build a list in. Let's see here. I'm just going to, I don't really need to, if I can just. One of the other great things about REISmartData, it's pretty cool, is that these pre-made lists. So there's this highly likely to sell list, which is very popular. I'm not gonna build it right now, but that's pretty neat. You get all these. Look at all these lists: active cash buyers, fix and flip buyers, pre-foreclosure. These are already done for you. It's a beautiful thing. Private money lenders. One of the things I needed when I got into real estate was private money, and I was blessed to have found it. But the fact is that some of you still need to find that. So there's lists that you can get in here of all those things. It's pretty cool. Let's just start fresh with a motivated seller list. And okay, what do we have here? Ooh, I'm going to use San Antonio, Texas. Thank you, Joseph. Why San Antonio, Texas? I love it because San Antonio is like its own island in Texas. And I promise to pick something outside of Texas, guys, after this, but I do like San Antonio. San Antonio is pretty intense because it has the highest response rate. That's one of the things our direct marketing coaches do at REIPrintMail. Why everybody uses us is because when you set a meeting with us, we tell you, here's how many pieces it takes to get a deal in your market, and here's your response rate, here's what we would send. And so San Antonio is really interesting because it seems to always have a higher response rate than all of the other areas around San Antonio, and like Austin and Houston and all that have lower response rates. So it's pretty cool. All right, so San Antonio. What I'm going to do now is, as I go through these, it is going to think, and you're going to see what I mean as it lowers this. So right now, I still have the include only vacants selected, and we have 8,588 vacants. Isn't that interesting? Now, they're not filtered. I just have those vacants, but I'm going to unclick that. Okay. And I'm going to start clicking the things that I have already said, and let's see if you have them written down. Exclude bank-owned properties. Omit MLS listings. Only this time we are going to use our absentee button, which is exclude properties where the mailing and property address are the same. If you don't know what an absentee owner is, it's simply someone that owns in a different place than where they live. That's what an absentee owner is. Most of the time, they're landlords, parents that bought a house for their kids, or somebody that moved out and thought that maybe they could be a landlord, and they tried to rent out their house, but a lot of times it goes south, and people like you and me go in and help them and buy the property. All right. So, okay, so let's go down here to market value again. So let's just keep it under 450,000. Remember, that's important to have that. I am going to do 51. I am going to do, see how it's got, now notice, so now when I hit absentee, did everybody notice what happened? Did you notice what happened when I hit absentee? Way more data, way more. 11,513 right now, and we're not even halfway through our filters. So I'm going to go 51 to 74. I'm going to do 75% to 100. And I'm going to include unknown equity. And I bet this caps out. Smart System caps out on the display at 20,000. So that means we have more than 20,000, but that's okay because we are going to keep filtering. 2 to 4 bedrooms. Now notice, if you're watching, try to catch when we put in just enough filter that this goes below 20,000. Okay, bath, 1 to 3. All right, still above 20,000. All right, let's do 900 square feet. Nope, still there, still above 20,000. Year built 1930. Who remembers what the other number is? Put it in the chat. Who remembers what the other number is? Boom. Shantae Williams, good job. All right. 1930 to 2005. Are we below 20,000 yet? No dice. Okay, we're going to keep going. All right, property type, residential. We're going to also do the zoning area. Again, like I said, very, very cool part of this is why we think that one of the reasons we think that we have one of the best building systems out there, list building systems, is because not only is it refreshed multiple times a week, unlike most of the major competitors, but also it has this little zoning area where you can get really specific. And I think that it really helps with the response rate. We know we've actually seen it, not think. We know that it helps with response rate. That's why we bought the company. So let's go here and let's try 5 years first. We're still above 20,000. Let's do 5 years of ownership and see how this comes back. Absentee list in San Antonio. We're still above. All right, what do? We only got a budget of this big, and we have a huge list. But when we need to increase motivation and we need to lower the list, I said it earlier, what do we got to do? Do you got anybody know? Can you put it in the chat? Do you know what we have to do? I said earlier, I know exactly what we have to do to increase motivation, but we have to lower the budget. All right, nobody's saying it. Okay. We have to, that's right, own for more years. So I'm going to exit out of this little 5-year pre-made filter here. And I am going to do the transaction range. When you're doing a transaction range of years of ownership, the left number really doesn't matter. So we're just going to go to 1900 all the way to the beginning of time. Not really the beginning of time, but pretty far back. All right, we're going to pick a date. And then we're going to go over here and let's just try 10 years. Why don't we double from 5 to 10 and see how it goes? All right, so that would be 2013. Here we are. Just going to pick the first. We're going to close. We're going to let it do its thing. And let's see. And I hope everybody's watching. This is the hottest list right now, absentee. This has got a lot of tired landlords. Boom, we went below 20,000. We are now at 16,618. Now, if I still needed to get lower to increase motivation, what are some of the things that I could do in order to increase motivation and lower the count so that I could be within inside of my budget? Because remember, I want the most bang for my buck with my marketing. So what I could do 75 to 100% in equity. That means they have more equity. I don't ever want to, yeah, I think, Eric, I think you meant the other way around, but you're right. That is absolutely correct. We're going to change the equity. So 75 to 100% in equity. Now I have more equity, but I'm never going to get rid of unknown equity. If I had the choice, I would unclick 75 to 100% before I clicked unknown equity. It's that powerful. Okay. So we got 12,169. Let's just say that was our budget, but I could keep going. I could tighten up your build. I could tighten up square footage. There's things I could do, but I keep tweaking until I get down to my budget. That is really important. So you have to know your budget. You don't just go in and pull lists all willy-nilly. The list is the lifeblood of your business. Okay. All right. So now, let's move over to the owner occupied list. And actually, let's take a couple questions really quick while I'm getting this ready. If you don't mind, if anybody has any quick questions, you can type them into the chat. I will answer what I can. Let's just do this. Will this be recorded? Yes, Donald, this will be recorded. Yeah, I'm not sure. The moderators and you guys, the moderators, you guys send all this out? You send all that out to everybody? Look at you.
We can send it out, yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. All right. Okay, how do you stack lists? Okay, in PropStream. Thank you, Shanta. How the question is, how do you stack lists? You stack lists by having multiple motivations. So it is not what you think. Basically, stacking a list means I pull an absentee list, I pull a tax delinquent list, and I pull, and these are just examples, and a vacant list. And then I dedupe them against each other to find out only the people that have all three problems wrong with them. It is absentee, meaning it may be a tired landlord. It is also latent taxes, okay? And it's also vacant. That is stacking. You need to be very careful with that. It sounds really cool. I'm telling you right now, without quantity, you will not get deals. I don't care if you're cold calling. I don't care if you're texting. I don't care what you're doing. The fact is that right now, on average, across the United States, it takes around $2,500 in order to find a deal that's going to be worth somewhere around 5 times that amount in profit. 5 to 6 times, times that in profit would be pretty average. Okay, that is an average. So if you stack a list too deep, you will stack yourself right out of the deal. You need to decide what you're going to do and then do it in an educated format so that if you send 1,000 pieces of mail and the average response rate across America is 0.5%, you get 5 phone calls. Well, if it takes 25 phone calls to get a deal, then what if you stack your list so much you only get 3 phone calls? Do you get the deal? Are you able to send less mail and get more deals? I've never seen it happen before in my life. And we send millions of pieces of mail a month. The fact is that you can stack yourself right out of a deal. Be careful. Be careful. There's gold in them hills. Hold on. I wanted to go back to Eric. You said, do probates are inherited and tax delinquent? Does it do probates inherited and tax delinquent? This does do tax delinquent, not probates. Not probates. It doesn't. We do have a probate program. You would have to contact your direct marketing coach in order to, by the way, everybody here can get a direct marketing coach. They're free. You can have a discussion with them. You just have to go to book a call. Well, one of the moderators can put a link in for you to go to if you want to talk to a direct marketing coach. And we do have a probate product that is a subscription-based product. It's very different. Now, tax delinquent, yes, this does do tax delinquent. Let's see. How do you stay up to date on the best list to target? That's a really hard question, Joseph. I'll tell you that I do it because, well, we're REIPrintMail and we've got thousands of investors that do marketing with us, and we're the largest REI print house in the nation. So we track the results, and when you get your free meeting with us, we tell you, what would work most likely in your area. We don't make guarantees, but we make great recommendations, and that's why our reviews are so great. That's why everybody uses us. But the fact is that that's how I keep up, right? It's a little bit easier for me, right, when I'm watching millions of pieces of mail. So another great way to know what list would probably be, I guess if I didn't have my resources here, meaning all of the clients sending mail, I would probably be watching a whole lot of the YouTube real estate world. YouTube real estate, where there's a lot of investors and they talk a lot about what's going on currently. That's probably one of your best places. Yeah. All right, so let's see here. Let's keep going, but this time we're going to do an owner occupied list. So we're going to unclick only vacant. I'm going to scroll back up here. Somebody said Jefferson County, Alabama. Let's do it. Let's do it. Teresa, thank you. One of the great things about REI Smart as well is in PropStream and other places, you probably got a little bit frustrated when you can only put 4 things in, 4 zip codes, 4 cities, or 4 counties. That sucks. With us, you can put in 25, and you can even copy and paste all your zip codes right here without typing them in one by one. Isn't that awesome? I love that. That saves me a lot of time. All right, let's see. Jefferson County, just type in county and it should find it. Jefferson County, Alabama. There it is. All right, let's do that. We're going to take a quick flight over there. There we are. Okay. Now, let's do owner occupied. Okay, we are still going to make sure and exclude bank-owned properties. Now, I would, with owner occupied, remove the companies. These aren't tired landlords. If you live in your own house, now this is up for discussion, up for debate, I'm sure, but I would probably remove the companies. It's one thing if you're going after tired landlords and they're absentee and they own it in a company, but if you're living in it, and that's what I'm looking for, I would probably exclude companies. Omit properties currently inactive pending on the MLS. And right here, show only properties where the mailing and property address are the same, AKA owner occupied. Okay, let's just keep it under, let's just say 400,000 for the area, because Alabama goes down a little bit and it's probably still a little high. I would guess maybe 300, 325, maybe something like that, but we'll see. We'll just know that we could trim that down a little bit. Equity, same thing, 50 to 100%. Plus, always, 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 what do we always 100% of the time always use? Unknown equity. Always unknown equity. Unknown equity. It's made me a lot of money. That's why it gets me. That's why it gets me excited, because unknown equity is exciting. All right, so property filters. Let's just do the regular 2 to 4. Let's do the 1 to 3 in the baths. 1 to 3 baths. Now we're still above 20. We're still above 20. By the way, if we could pull this in sections, we could pull this in sections and pull 20 out of each of these sections in order to get more. For those of you that want, 100,000 lines of data, you could do it. Okay, square footage. Let's do the 900. Year built, 1930 to 2005. And then single family. And duplex, triplex, quadplex. Sure, everybody likes those. Cash on cash returns important. Now, the big difference in owner occupied, besides the excluding companies, is that your owner filters have to be incredibly high, incredibly high. Hear me now. If you are going to do marketing and you are new to the real estate game, you need to stay away from owner occupied lists right now. That's what you need to do. Do not, and I'm not, look, there are maybe some people out there that are saying, yeah, but tax delinquent absentee. Yeah, but vacants, you can do vacant absentee. I happen to like vacants either way because they're vacant, and even though they're by definition, they don't have anyone in them. So that's okay. Why do you think owner occupied is bad right now? Let's think about it. Think about the economy. Think about what's going on. Why is owner occupied so bad? Because displacing a homeowner is incredibly, Brad, big brain Brad. Good, tough to move. That was his answer. That is fantastic. The fact of the matter is that it is really, really difficult to get a homeowner to move. So even if you cut a deal with them, even if you do cut a deal and they go, okay, great, now where am I going to go? I'll sell you my house. Where am I going to go? And that sometimes the deal won't even go through. Sometimes you don't even get that far because they answer that question by simply not calling your marketing, not answering your texts, not picking up the cold call, or not moving forward with the conversation. Owner occupied is incredibly difficult. Incredibly. None right now, none of my clients use it except for pre-foreclosure, which this system does. You can just click pre-foreclosure. It's that easy. But the fact is that unless you are pre-foreclosure, and those aren't even that plentiful right now. Why? They're refinancing these things to 40-year mortgages. I'd never heard of such a thing, but they're doing it. So there's no reason to really even attack pre-foreclosure unless you're going to go to multiple states and you're only doing it in virtual. Why? Because you need quantity to get deals. That's why. Whether it's texting, whether it's cold calling, whether it's mail, I don't care what you're doing. You need some quantity. Pay-per-click. If your pay-per-click company that you're talking to doesn't tell you that you need to spend at least $3,000 to $5,000 to even make it somewhat worth it, you're probably going to have bad results, right? Because that's quantity. All right. So anyway, I told you I go off on tangents. You guys can in the chat, you can yell at me and say, Ryan, stop it. Finish what you were doing. Okay. So we're going to pick the first one. We're going to go down to 1900. Pick the day here. That's fine. All right. And then we're going to do, well, let's just go down 23. So let's do 30 years. and close. But if you are going to do owner occupied, that's where I was going with that. Squirrel. Do at least 30 years of ownership, at least. Now look how much that went down. Now, I don't know who gave me Jefferson. Is this a newer area where they just started getting houses built? And this is kind of see the list, they tell you something very specific about this. They tell you something very specific, which is, you know, these lists, they tell a story. I'll give you a, for instance, if you ever put in bedrooms or bathrooms and all of your data disappears, I mean, that's happened to me when I was a newbie and I started, and all of your data disappears. Look, he said, no, Jefferson County is 150 years old, and probably so too is their reporting. That means the municipality is doing a terrible job reporting years of ownership. So how do we increase motivation there? That's a conundrum. We will. I'll answer that question in just a second, but let me finish what I was saying. Is that if you put in beds or baths and all of your data disappears, it is not your fault. It is not the list system's fault. It is the municipality's fault. Where does all of our data come from? It comes from the municipalities. All of it is on an API, which means computers are talking to each other. Where does that come from? That usually comes from tax information. And where does that come from? People inputting stuff. And do people input stuff badly? Yes, all the time. Or whole municipalities say, we're not even going to report bathrooms. We're just not going to report it. If you're in Louisiana, congratulations. You can't use bathroom filters in any portion of the state or in any parish. Right? So there you go. So Eric just said, correct, bed and bath issues are a big problem in Alabama. Yes, and I'm doing a lot of mail in Birmingham. I'm doing a lot of mail in different parts of Alabama, and he is absolutely correct that it is a problem. So how would we solve this problem? We've got 30, and we just can't go back this far because the municipality is saying, nope, can't do it. You know what I do want to do is I want to try 5 years. I want to see where that goes real quick. This is cool that we get to solve this problem live. This is neat. All right, so let's just try the 5 and see what happens, because municipalities may go back with their records a certain amount of time, and then it might be okay. All right, so we're still above 20, which means yes. So so then theoretically, and who knows, because municipalities are funky, we could go down to 1900. We could do 10 years. Okay, we could do 10. And that might fix it. We're going to see. Drum roll, please. But honestly, I wouldn't be sending to this list. I wouldn't be marketing to this list at all because it's owner occupied. And as you can see, we're already having problems with it. And I know that tired landlords are where most of the deals are. Why? They've already made their money. They've already made their money. They're ready to go. Yeah, so there you have it. You can go about 10. You may be able to go 12 or 15 years back. But notice how we had to fix that. We knew that that wasn't true. Sometimes list building systems lie to you, but it's just that they don't have access to the information. Okay, so that is all of the lists. I went over a bunch of reasons why I like REISmart. List source, by the way, last market sales date is years of ownership. So if you're using list source, last market sales date is years of ownership. And I wanted to make sure and say that. All right, besides that, what I'm going to do is explain to you really quickly that, that this list building system is going to be available. I believe it's $50 a month right now. It is 10,000 leads for 50 bucks, cheapest in the industry for this kind of quality. It is 50 bucks a month for 10,000 leads, or it's completely free to get in and play around. So moderators, if you want to go ahead and put a link in the chat in case anybody does want to just sign in and then they can get in and play around, and you can build lists, you just can't pull them out. There's some certain things you won't have access to if you don't have a paid subscription, but you can at least get in and play around with it. And if you are pulling lists, no matter where you're pulling them, always think of REIPrintMail, because even if you're just buying lists, you really want to schedule a meeting with us so that at least we can give you some pointers for free. But ultimately, the price in 10 days is going up to $65 because it is insanely too cheap. And we kind of just had it sitting at this price before. This is the first webinar we've done. And so, but the system has been around for years, well over 10 years. So we've made it better over the past 6 months, and we're continuously making it better now. So if you do want to sign up for it, there is a link in the chat. Now we can answer some questions. Are there any questions about the list building that I can answer for you? Any questions at all?
Ryan, I believe Carolyn wanted to know if you could show a tax delinquent.
Tax delinquent. Okay, let's do that. Let's go to dashboard
If
here.
anyone else has any questions, put them in the chat and we can definitely get to them while he's building this list.
Tax delinquent. Okay, when you are building tax delinquent is very much just like what everything that we went over, meaning the base stuff is true, right? So now tax delinquent, unless you do owner occupied, you're really not going to get much data. But omitting MLS, and then here is the important part, right? Tax year delinquent, okay? You have to say these are the years that it was delinquent, because that's really, you want to find problem in the last 2 years, 3 years. That's where you want. So if you just pull tax delinquent from other systems, typically they're just giving you everything that was tax delinquent ever, right? And that's not good. You want something that was delinquent in the most recent time frame, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So there was a problem. So that if you send them a letter and you say, you're behind on your taxes, give me a call. And they go, no, I'm not. And you go, oh, well, you were in the past. If you're interested in selling, they go, actually, I am selling. Let's have a conversation about it. How much will you buy it for? So the tax year delinquent is very, very important. The rest of it, guys, is the basic stuff. So it is the 50 to 100 plus including unknown equity, plus, and I'm not going to fill it all out, but 2 to 4 beds, 1 to 3 baths, because I know this is getting to be a long presentation. So let's just do my area, St. Louis, Missouri. Actually, I want to do St. Charles County, Missouri. There we go. There we go. So before I put in all the filters, I got 1,349 tax delinquent events that happened inside of a 2 or 3 year period. That's what I would mess to. Now, you could take that filter all the way down to the current year, but you can't take it to 2023 because we don't know yet. We have no clue. So that's a problem. If you take it to 2023, it's going to say none. Why? Because they haven't registered yet. And government is anything but efficient and fast, right? So they just don't know. They have no clue. So as you take each year back, then suddenly you get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And don't forget, you need quantity to be successful. Any skip tracing, phone number, email, sorry if I missed this element. There is skip tracing inside Smart. Yes, you can, if you sign up, I believe there's a $4 a month addition but you get access to our skip tracing. And so yes, you can upload lists and skip trace them. So anyway, as you keep moving backwards, you can get more and more. Don't go more than 5 years tax delinquent. There's no point in it. There's no point in it. So I hope that helped. All right. Any other questions? All right. Fantastic. Guys, I think we did really good. I think we were inside of about, I mean, 10 minutes away from being at an hour. So I think we did pretty good. If these things get over an hour, they get a little daunting. If you would like to join us, oh yeah, no, Carrie, thank you very much for the kind words. That's great. If you want to join us on the next one, we are going to do this, I think, once a month. I think that's what they're going to have me do. They have me chained to a radiator in here. They only let me out to eat, and then I only do these. So
Ryan, it looks like we have one more question. Eric wants to know what the, I'm sorry, seems if several different companies have introduced some type of motivated seller software in the past 6 months, what makes ours different?
Yeah, well, is that it? Really simply, the most, there's two things actually. What makes it different is you have a company that is the best reviewed marketing company on Google. You can go check us out, Google REIPrintMail. We've been around 31 years and we have one prerogative, that's to get our people deals. And that's how we shape our company. And the fact is you have us running actual marketing through these lists. This was our #1 list building system for years. And we saw the best results come out of here. So that's one. All right. And then two, we found out when we bought the company why one of the reasons it was so expensive was that they refreshed their data a whole bunch. And not every company does this because it's not that cheap to do. We decided to keep doing it. The fact is that we refresh the data multiple times a week. For those of you that use other systems like PropStream and ListSource and things like that, you will find that it's not really the freshest data. You know, different list sources work differently in different areas. And I will tell you that there is definitely a huge advantage to refreshing every single week a couple of times, you know, because new vacants, right? New things that were sold were removed. So that is huge just on its own. The other thing is there's just a bunch of filters that we have that other people don't. And let's face it, you're in the REIPrintMail umbrella. So you get to talk to a direct marketing coach and you got someone to help you all the time. You get their cell phone number, you get their calendar. When you have trouble with your response rates or when you're not sure what to say when someone calls, when you have all of these issues, which that's what we have in real estate, at least you have us, which is fantastic. We're a people company and we love helping people. So you get your own direct marketing coach. So how about that? How about them apples? All right. So, oh, look at that. Brad Lancaster, thank you. Emmy is one of our direct marketing coaches and she is amazing. One of our senior direct marketing coaches. Emmy pulled our first list just 2 weeks ago, 3,000 pieces. You got 9 inbound calls, 2 qualified seller appointments inside of 24 hours. And I am sure that was just starting, Brad. I'm sure of it. So that probably, yeah, that had just landed. So you got what, another 8 days of calls coming in. So that would put you at just over 1%, maybe 1.25%. So double the industry average, which is fantastic. So I wish you many, many deals and happy hunting, Brad. Thank you for trusting us with your marketing. I really appreciate that. We are going to have if you can, moderators, put another round of the links in the system in case anybody wants to check us out. Guys, also REIPrintMail.com. Also, just Google REIPrintMail, not .com, just Google REIPrintMail. Check out our reviews. There's a lot of powerful stories there. And if you're new, you are not alone. You're not alone. We all had to get to our first deal. We all had to get to our first deal. And I know that it's difficult. But it gets way, way easier. And this is the best business in the world. Do not give up. And if you have to go to our Google reviews and feed your spirit with a little bit more courage and look at some of the people that did make it, we have people make it every single day and change their life. Do not give up. Do not give up. It's the best business in the world. And I'm telling you, not giving up is most of the battle. The rest, building a good list. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a wonderful evening. I had a blast, even though I couldn't hear you. I wish I could. The moderators wouldn't let me. I'm going to go. They're going to feed me now and hopefully let me out for a break. So thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.